Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the third time I'm starting this episode because for whatever reason, my computer keeps giving out. And so I am recording this on the phone. Yeah, switch things around like that because today's the day to record. So we're going to record it on the phone. Today, we're going to talk about imagination is your greatest financial assets. Yes. Listen, this is going to be a very philosophical conversation. I know. So it's going to be like up there, but also I'm going to do my very best to make it super tangible so that you can see how you can take the stuff up there and bring it down here. And then it makes practical sense for your personal life and your finances. Imagination being your greatest financial asset means your imagination is literally responsible for your wealth. That's how we're going to think about it. Because if you think about it, if we want to go down deep, and we're going to go deep right away, we're not going to circle it because I said it's philosophical. So let's just focus on the concept of it all first. Okay. So if you really think about it, there's nothing you do that you didn't think about. I know often we ask teenagers, why did you do that? And they're like, I don't know. It's not actually true. They're not lying. It's just our brain is processing 60,000 thoughts a day. And if you're not aware of that scenario happening inside your brain, you can't catch them all. I mean, really, we can't actually catch all 60,000 thoughts. It's impossible. But, and then also a lot of those thoughts are like repetitive thoughts. So really trying to track every single one of them. But every single one of those thoughts is creating an emotion that drives us to take actions, multiple actions, one action either way. We do what we do because of how we think, how we feel. So our imagination is just the ability for our brain to think and venture out into the wild universe that's inside of our brain. And so it's constantly creating thoughts. And a lot of us are limited in our imagination because of the environment we grew up in, because of who we surround ourselves with, because of our belief systems. But what we create, the material world we live in, is a product of imagination. That's as philosophical as it gets, which is the reason why we need to talk about this. Because if you ignore that fact that your imagination is responsible for your wealth, for your life, for your material life, then you are just creating an existence randomly. And generally, that creates no precise results. And even when you have results that you do like, you can't duplicate them. You don't know how you created them. Just like when we ask a teenager, why did you do that? I don't know. If you don't know why you did something, how could you explain? How could you replicate it if it was a good thing? How could you even stop doing it if it wasn't a thing that you liked? You have no control. So it's really important to understand where your material life comes from. And this is something I work with my clients. Often, women make really good decisions sometimes. Yet, if you don't have a process on how you made that decision that worked out, then it was a fluke. And if it was a fluke, you can't repeat it, right? And so we find a lot of women that have created a successful life, yet they're not proud of it and they're not confident in it because deep down they recognize, I don't know how I did it. It kind of just happened, which is really dangerous. And so it's important to think about, where does my success come from? It comes from your thoughts, from your imagination, my friend. You did that. Take that credit. Okay. And also any other person did you, but it started in your imagination. Now, the reason this matters is because just recently I was talking to one of our members in Money Academy, and the so it seemed like the conversation was about the fact that she didn't know what she wanted, but in reality it was because she didn't want to own what she wanted. And a lot of women do this a lot. We cower under what we really want. So if someone asks us what we want, we already have an idea, but then we think it's too big of an idea or it's too presumptuous. So we don't say it, or we say we don't know. Well, oftentimes you'll see that when someone says, I don't know, it's just kind of like a cop out. It's our brain's mechanism of protection. It's not actually something you're doing to be deceiving or to be dishonest. Your brain is just trying to protect you, because if you don't feel safe in an environment, then your brain's not going to want to open up, right? And I want you to see that. This client was just really saying, I actually want something very specific. I just don't know that I can have it. So therefore, I don't even want to speak about it out loud, which we untangled that really well. But that's where it all begins because if you cannot even own what you want, then you are disowning your imagination and your reality would either stay the same or change in a way that doesn't align with what you truly want. And here's what's so interesting about what you truly want it has a life, it lives inside of you and it knocks at your door every single day. So whether or not you listen to it, you expose it, you talk about it, it's there. You can't deny it. What happens when you are trying to deny it, ignore it, or avoid it? It just creates stress within you. It really does because it's not being heard. And as the our biological makeup requires demands that we listen to our inner voice. The beautiful gift that we've all been given as humans, and it won't let us misuse it. It just won't. So you could spend years trying to avoid that voice. One day it's going to, something is going to nudge you. One time, I mean, there are people who actually end up dying without doing the things that were deep down in their hearts. And they do admit to their regret. They admit to, I wish I would have gone for it. I wish I would have done this. I wish no one ever looks back and think, I wish I hadn't done that, right? Or like the thing that they wanted to do. So it's really important to realize you owe it to yourself to give a voice to that nudging inside of you. So if your imagination is responsible for your wealth or your material circumstances, then let's see how we can hone that in, master that skill of imagination, and use it with precision to create something tangible for you. This is the part where we leave the philosophy, the philosophical view of imagination, and go into the tangible things. And here is how I help you materialize this concept. A lot of the clients we work with come to us because they have debt. They've tried before to pay off debt. They've even been successful, paid it off, right back into debt. Uh, or a lot of our clients come to us because they want to retire and they don't know how to proceed to do that because right now their relationship with money is not in alignment with the retirement plan that they want to set up. Or a lot of our clients come to us because they've just come into money and they don't trust it that they're going to steward it well. So we set up a foundation, we work with them. A lot of our clients, the majority of them just have a really negative mindset when it comes to money, which reflects in their bank account. They're not proud of their bank account. So the women that come to us to work with us, they want to be proud of their bank account and they want to have conversations where they trust themselves financial decisions with no regrets. I often say I help women spend their money guilt free because women do spend money, but it's attached with a lot of guilt. So when these women come to us with all these desires, I applaud it. I welcome it. But what I have seen happen in the world is that when someone wants something like that, they immediately go to action, right? They literally go to, oh, I need to stop spending money, or I need more discipline, or I need more self control. Or they cut up their credit cards, or they freeze their credit card. I mean, they take so many actions. They delete the apps in their phone. Some of those actions are not terrible. They're not bad at all. But that's the first thing they do. And we only do this because we're only focusing on what we see, the behavior. But that's not the origin of the problem. And if we don't go to the origin of the problem, then we're not solving it. We're just putting a band-aid on a deeper wound. Here is how when you know that your imagination is your greatest financial asset, here's how you behave when you're looking at your relationship with money and you notice behaviors that you don't care for, that you want to eliminate, that you want to shift around, you want to change. Here's what you do. You ask yourself, why do I do that? You get an answer. Don't just ask it and then find another behavior to explain that question. So, for instance, why do I spend all of my paycheck right after I got paid? And your answer could be, is because I have been restricting myself for a long time. And then I just kind of like lash out and then go on a spending binge. Yeah, it's a succession of behaviors, but that's not actually why you do it. There is a source, there is a reason that's inside of your imagination, your brain. There's a reason in your brain that is causing you to have an emotion that is driving you to first restrict yourself from spending and then also binging. You've got to uncover that because in your imagination, you have ideas that are being formed and they're forming. And those ideas are making you feel certain ways, and then you're behaving from them. So when these women come to us and we start working together, we really help them identify, okay, we need you to consider how is it that you're thinking about money that is creating the results you have right now? And how do you want to think about money to create the results you just laid out? Like, you want to be debt free. How do you want to think about money that's going to help you be debt free? All of that happens in your imagination. Now, this could be like weight loss, right? And I know this because this is my journey recently. But if you think about it, a woman who is trying to lose 30 pounds, she's never lost 30 pounds. She's never been 30 pounds less, right? Than her current weight. She thinks she cannot imagine what life will be like when she's 30 pounds less. But that's not actually true. She can tap into her imagination and really spend some time with who she is at 30 pounds less. It's the same thing when it comes to your finances. If you're thinking to yourself, I don't even know what it would feel like to not worry about money anymore. I really want you to consider that you can actually figure it out before you get to that stage of your life. And actually, that's how you get to that stage of your life. If you can never imagine it, it can never be. So consider that. Because one part of the conversation that I have on the free consultation that I offer is I really guide you through what it is that you want and then what does it feel like to have it. I have so many women who tell me I don't know possible. I know your brain tells you that, but remember when your brain tells you I don't know, it's just a cop out, it's protection. So you need to pierce through that I don't know, be really radically honest with yourself. If you did know, what would that feel like if you actually didn't have to struggle with money anymore? Like, really stay there. As a matter of fact, spend a day with that. Because that's the work that I did with myself to truly believe in my ability to handle money and never be stressed about money ever again. I used to wake up in the middle of the night anxious because I didn't have answers to some of my questions when it came to money. I would wake up with the panic attack, my heart racing, nothing calming me down because I thought I didn't know how to answer those questions. But over time, it passed because I built self trust by answering my questions. What would it be like to be worry free with money? You would sleep through the night. That's what it would be like. You wouldn't be checking your account every 2 minutes just to see if the bill went through or avoiding your credit card statement. You wouldn't wait till you get to the restaurant before you find out if you do have the funds to pay for that meal. You would know. You would just be so confident that you know exactly what's going on with your money. If you if you're a business owner, you wouldn't be surprised when the bank tells you your business loan got denied because your credit score isn't great or your credit history isn't great. You would know because if who's confident, who's not worried about money anymore, she's really well versed into her numbers. She doesn't avoid them anymore. And what does life look like when you don't avoid your numbers? You start paying attention to them more often and then you start making more of them. Because the thing you pay attention to is the thing that grows. So that's what life would be like if you tapped into your imagination and really saw your future for what it really is. Listen, no one knows what the future holds. No one knows. No matter how many times people tell you set goals and blah blah blah. Yeah, goals are amazing. Goals are not actually set or here. We don't set goals actually because of the achievement of the goal. That's not what I think that that's a misconception. We set goals for the direction they give our lives, for who we become as we try to achieve the goal. So that even when we don't achieve the goal, we've already shifted who we were, which is so powerful. And so goals are also a product of our imagination because they're totally arbitrary, right? If you say I want to make $200,000 this year, in what book? You just decided that. Which is why you shouldn't be so attached to the $200,000. It's like, okay, who's the woman who makes $200,000 a year? That's who I need to become. That's the focus. That's the reason I set that goal. And when you think of it that way, the goal is here to change you, to grow you, to expand you. Because if you don't set a goal, then you're not really exploring your imagination. And that's one of your most amazing gifts as a human being. So you're not tapping into that. Then you're kind of like just repeating the same life over and over because our brain does that. If unless we set goals that are bigger than us right now, our brain just keeps us in a box by repeating the same days over and over and over and over. So all of a sudden, years come by and you kind of the same. And that's the reason why people don't build an emergency savings account or an emergency saving fund because they keep telling themselves, I will, I will, I will. They're waiting for the future to catch up with them. But like you have to create that by setting a goal. You may be looking at your situation, your financial, and now have an extra $500 a month to put aside or to put towards my IRA or my a stock investment. None of that, right? But listen, that's not where it starts. It starts in your imagination. Think about the woman who saves money consistently. How does she think about saving money? She doesn't think I don't have $500 to put away every single month. She never thinks that. She's thinking about what she can do. She's not do. This is why your imagination is your most valuable financial asset because that's where you create who you are in your world. That's where you create your reality. And then you go and create evidence for that. Now, here is something that I want to share with you. We are always proving to ourselves what we already believe. So if we don't believe we can save money, we will not prove to ourselves that we can save money. Our brain just can't do that. That's not how it was designed. It was designed to just recreate what's already in our imagination. And if that's the case, then what do you want to have in your imagination so that you can create it in the material world? That's where you want to be. And I know that's hard work. It is because our brain doesn't change the way it thinks. It just wants to be, but you have to inject it with new thoughts. And that's why listening to this podcast is so important. Like when I meet with women during my free consultation and they don't sign to work with me for whatever reason, I'm always recommending make sure you listen to the podcast because this is one of the ways that you can find value in becoming the woman who can better her relationship with money. You start to see things differently. You start to inject your brain with new thoughts, new ideas, and your imagination explodes because all of a sudden you wonder, I never heard of it that way. I wonder what it would be like if I thought of it that way. That's how I renewed my relationship with possibility. When I was a kid, I was a dreamer. I was going to do such amazing things in my life. And then for whatever reason, I became realistic. I remember I laid in my bed, I think middle grade, I think. I cannot remember exactly, but I remember I was in bed and I started worrying about my grades in school. I never worried about my grades in school because in my imagination, I just always succeeded. I was very successful in school. I didn't worry. But I remember the day that the anxiety crept into my heart. And from that day on, I was no longer the dreamer. I was worried about what would happen, how I would fail. And it just carried on into my adulthood. until I listened to my first coach and she changed my life. I found possibility again. I found my imagination again. This is history. Here I am teaching you how to do the same. It's been an amazing adventure. So do that, my friend. Tap into your imagination. What do you want? Who are you that has that thing? Let's explore. Can you like date that idea? Date that idea, spend time there. We use our imagination actually already, but in the negative sense, because most of us are so focused on the worst case scenario. So we spend our days worrying about what could go wrong, what could happen that wouldn't work for us, how we would fail, which is why the idea of even investing money into bettering your relationship with money sounds scary because you're wondering, what if I fail? But my friend, tap into your imagination. What if this is the first time in your life that financial literacy actually becomes the thing that was missing? And then your relationship with your emotions and your mindset improve. All of a sudden, money is not such a scary subject anymore. It's now this thing that you feel safe around and you sleep all through the night. You can set goals and not freak out when you don't achieve them because you are changing and growing and expanding all along the way. What if that is what's on the other side of you just saying yes? So let's revisit that. Tap into your imagination for what is possible for you. Because you already know what's not possible, right? You've been rehearsing it for years and years and years. Let's try to see if we can give airtime to what is possible. Spend some time there. It's going to feel uncomfortable initially, but that's okay. You can be uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable days when, if you're not a rain person, if it's raining, you're uncomfortable and you live anyway. And if you don't like heat like I don't, and on a really 100-degree weather day, you're very uncomfortable. And then the day passes and you live. So you can also be uncomfortable initially when you start tapping into your imagination and you start realizing, but really, I want you to think about that. As philosophical as this sound is the root of your success. If you connect a little bit more to your imagination, to your thoughts, to who you think you are, instead of just focusing on your behaviors, you would create so much self confidence that you would it would be amazing. Because here's what I see, and this is probably where I'm going to close this out. Think about it. The world is full of people who are talking about strategies and strategies and strategies, behaviors. Put money aside for your savings, put money towards your retirement account. In the forum where a young woman was saying how she doesn't know what she spends. She holds herself back a lot and then she goes and she spends all her paycheck and she just doesn't know how to stop doing that. And then everyone was just giving her plenty of ideas. Like, if you're going to order Uber, make sure you walk there to pick it up or drive there yourself. Don't get it delivered. There were other things like delete all the apps on your phone or make sure you put money towards your saving first thing first when you get paid. All of those great strategies, but guess what? Those things won't happen if this young woman doesn't go in her mind and find out what is it that is making me do these things anyway? Where is the origin of these behaviors? She's never going to be able to sustain not spending if she doesn't know why she's spending. You don't explain that by another behavior. So you can't tell me I spend because growing up, my parents just always spent money. That's not actually why you spend. That's just the pattern. But where is the pattern from? And now I feel like I'm repeating myself, but that's really valuable to understand. This is a very important question for you to answer. Do not answer this with another behavior. Answer this with the imagination in your brain, the thought you have that is causing this behavior. Let's go that far. And if you need help with this process, this is the work we can do in a free 1 hour conversation. And the link is in the show notes so that you can schedule yourself. During that 1 hour, we're going to investigate why are you behaving the way you are? Why do you want what you want and you're not taking action? As a matter of fact, this is the conversation we're going to have in the next episode. Why do women know what they know and they're not taking action on it? It's something in those lines. But that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So if you want to get ahead of the game, make sure you schedule your 1 hour conversation with, and we can break it down for you personally. Because even if we do talk about it on the podcast next week, I will do different scenarios of all the cases that are available. But for you personally, let's identify what is it about your own situation that is making you take action the way you are against what you want. And then how can we reverse that so you can focus on what you truly want versus what you don't want? All right, my friends, that's it for today's episode. Imagination is your greatest financial asset. That's where all of your life lies. And if you're not connected, let's get connected. Until the next episode. And until then, go out and live your life on purpose.